Yo, 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 yo. I made a little rap song. What's good, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of the Mad Mondays show. I want to introduce you guys to myself. For those of you who don't know, I'm Nomad222, aka the Oos Triple Deuce. This series, I'm going to be talking to you guys and answering some questions to let you guys in on who I am at a base level, on a personal level, and let you guys know a little bit more about why it is that I do what I do and I be who I be. And so basically this first episode is going to be an introduction to myself and my origin story and letting you guys know what I'm doing. And every single week I'm going to try for the rest of this year to upload as many of these videos as possible. Once a week I'm going to answer 7 different questions on a different topic so that you guys can get to know me on a fundamental level. So with that being said, let's get into this first question. So the first question is, what was your childhood like and how did your upbringing influence the person you are today? So I want to say that my childhood was pretty simple. It's a simple story that I feel like a lot of people can relate to. So I was the second eldest of 6 children. My mom, Brenda, is a singer. She currently works at ANZ. She's pretty much worked at the bank all my life. My dad, Kent, was a dancer. He's also, been in warehousing and he's worn a couple different hats. But yeah, my parents were always working hard to provide us with everything that we ever wanted. I remember there were times where, they would sit us down and say, hey, we probably can't afford to pay for this camp. But then next thing you know, we're at the school camp. So I don't know how they made that happen, but they always found a way to make sure that we never went without needing anything. And, we always lived close to other family, like my uncles, my aunties, my grandma, my, on both sides, my nan, all kinds of people. And it was just really cool. I grew up in Australia, which was, something because obviously I'm of the brown persuasion. So I'm half Māori and half Samoan, Māori on my dad's side and Samoan on my mum's side. So it was pretty hard growing up as a plastic in Melbourne and not really being in touch with my culture and not really understanding the language or anything like that. And it's something that would prove difficult later on in life. But that's pretty much my childhood in a nutshell, Actually, just to mention as well, my siblings, growing up with my siblings, we all played basketball. We all did a couple different things. Like I remember at one point, me and my older sister, we were dancing. Then my sisters were both dancing. And then, we all did a couple different things. But basketball is really what kind of was the one thing that we all kind of had in common. We all played basketball at some point or in our lives or at another point. Anyway, that's question 1. Question number 2, can you describe some key moments or experiences in your early life that shaped your love for music? Like I mentioned, my mom is a singer and my dad is a dancer, and, music's always kind of been in my life, my entire life. My Uncle Rob, he's a DJ and he does a bunch of like tour management and things like that. My Uncle Aaron's he's always had a ukulele ever since I've known him. And, everyone in my life just loves music. And more specifically, growing up, I've been told that apparently like baby me used to be really into Brian McKnight, really used to be into NSYNC, different boy bands and things like that, and do all kinds of stuff. There was one music video by Brian McKnight, the Back at One music video, that apparently really stood out to me and used to have me actually cry because he dies at the end of that music video. So that's something that resonated with me. The Temptations movie, the one starring Leon as David Ruffin, that was something that I used to watch religiously as a kid growing up. So that's something to add there. There was a couple of different key moments. Actually, I'll tell you one story in particular. So I've got an uncle, his name's Uncle Ty. Love Uncle Ty. Crazy story that I learned, later on in life is that Ty actually is short for Fafatai, which is thank you in Samoan. So that's cool. But he had a birthday when I was younger, and I was a big Usher fan. And I remember this one time, like at the birthday, Usher came on, the DJ was playing him, and at that point in time, I thought I was like a little B-boy, you know what I mean? And so I went inside and I did a head spin. And at the time, it felt like everyone in the room was watching me, and I was like spinning on my head for 8 minutes. That I was spinning on my head for a very long time. Come to find out later in life, there's actually footage of this. No one in the room was watching. No one realized what I was doing. And I did like half a turn. So that was interesting. But I had that mentality that I had actually done that shit when I was a little kid. And for the longest time, so I'm just gonna stay there, stay delusional, and pretend that is what I did. But yeah, so I got a bunch of different experiences. We could probably get into that a little bit more. If anyone wants to know more about my experiences with music and what made me fall in love with it, please let me know, because I know that doesn't really give an insight into why I make hip hop. But anyway, let's keep going. So, how did your cultural background, Samoan and Maori heritage, play a role in your identity and artistic journey? So the crazy thing about that is that, like I mentioned, I'm actually a plastic islander. I'm a plastic Polynesian. It's something that, used to get used as a derogatory term to a lot of us who grew up here or, weren't in touch with the culture, who, just didn't have an opportunity to learn and grow up immersed in that. And so for a long time, especially in my childhood, I felt a great shame, and I felt very disconnected from other Polynesian kids, which was on top of already feeling like an alien amongst Australian kids, amongst Caucasian kids. So it was a weird dichotomy for me to have to, try and work between. But as I got older and as I started to get a little more comfortable with myself, do some self-discovery, and understand that it wasn't my fault that I didn't understand that. It was no one's fault, but I have plenty of time to actually learn and immerse myself in that sort of stuff. The more that I started to embrace it and start to learn more about my culture and start to implement that into my artistic journey, because one of the main reasons that a lot of people don't understand why I call myself Nomad, why I decided to go with that name in the first place, aside from it being my first name backwards, I actually was always enamored with the indigenous Australians and how they lived semi-nomadically, living from the land and living in a sustainable way. So they would move from place to place, never leaving the space worse than they found it. Always trying to leave every spot where they stayed in better than they found it. That way the land can rejuvenate and they're giving back to the land. That's sort of deep appreciation that they had for it. And I kind of, at some way, I kind of wanted to have that deep reverence for music that they had the deep reverence for the land. And it's something that I've tried to implement. And what I mean by that is how I stay authentic, how I don't rap about things that aren't authentic to who I am, that don't relate to me and won't relate to the people that I'm trying to inspire. So that's my connection to the land that I'm on. But with that being said, learning about the indigenous Australians also gave me an opportunity to learn about the indigenous New Zealanders, the Māori, and my people, where I come from. And it's still a journey that I'm trying to learn a lot more of. And the same with Samoans, and learn about Samoan culture and how we practice sustainability in the early days before colonialism and everything like that. So it's definitely played a huge role, and it's still playing a huge role, not just in music, but in my life. And I feel a huge responsibility to use my platform, no matter how big or small it might seem to people, but to always use my platform to inspire people who are of the same skin color, same nationality, or even in the islands surrounding the islands where I'm from. So I feel very tethered to all of the islands in the Pacific, Melanesian, Micronesian, Polynesian, all of the Nesians, all of us islanders. I feel a deep reverence and responsibility to you guys to make sure that I'm always being authentic in my practice. So that's the answer to question number 3. Question number 4, what challenges did you face growing up, and how did they contribute to your determination to pursue music? I faced a lot of challenges growing up. I don't want to make out that I have some kind of sob story that I lived a very difficult life, because like I said, I had very hardworking parents. I had 2 parents that were always constantly working to make sure that we got the best that we possibly could in life. And, for the most part, they were always at every single thing that we did. They were always at our games. They were always driving us to our games and to whatever it was that we wanted to do with our life. And so I'm very lucky and blessed in that sense. It was more a lot of internal things, a lot of things that I felt like I sucked at. I at one point or another, I felt like I sucked. Sorry, I still think I suck at speaking. I suck at speaking, as evidenced by that stumble just there. But at one point I thought, man, I can't even talk to people. I didn't know how to talk. It was like a confidence issue, as well as just feeling too dumb to string words together in a sentence that was cohesive. And that held me back for a lot of my early childhood. But that's another reason why I turned towards music, because one thing that I felt like I've been pretty good at since a very early age was my ability to memorize lyrics and understand messages within songs. So if I can figure out a way to put what I'm going through into a song, into some lyrics, then that's a way for me to convey what I'm experiencing and what I'm feeling. So that's why I've always used my own songs as a mirror for myself, so that I can see myself in the kind of music that I'm making and allow other people to see me for who I really am. Because a lot of the time I wouldn't be able to communicate who I really am and what I really feel on the inside out loud. So that's a huge reason why that was one of the huge challenges that, gave me the determination for my music. Some other challenges, I mean, I kind of mentioned it before and touched on it about how, I grew up a plastic in Melbourne, Afakasi and M.A.D, and, I never really got along with other Polynesians until I was a little bit older and understood that there are more, people like me. There's fellow plastics. There's also people that don't really care about that stuff. It's kind of a rudimentary way of thinking that, everybody, if you're not one way, then you're not Polynesian, you know what I mean? But as I grew up, I realized that there were some more mature minds out there who could understand that the diaspora is more than just a set of rules. And that was really great. But that was definitely a challenge early on, because I couldn't see myself getting along with the brown kids, and I couldn't see myself getting along with the white kids. So I definitely felt isolated very early on, and I struggled to make friends, or that I had to put on a facade. I had to pretend. I had to figure out how to fake the M.A.D accent, even though that's not the accent that I have. And it's a big reason why I rap with the accent that I do, that I rap with, because that was what I saw on TV. Those were the people that inspired me and made me comfortable, and I felt like at one point or another, I felt like I could relate to what was happening in America more than I could relate to what was happening here. But anyway, that was just huge inspiration for me. And then at the same time, speaking specifically to the journey of trying to pursue music in Melbourne, the biggest challenge that I face is the fact that, Melbourne really does struggle with tall poppy syndrome and not really wanting to support. And look, it's getting a lot better. I'll say that in my later years in my career, I can definitely say that, Melbourne's definitely coming together and starting to figure out that we need each other and we need to be able to support one another openly, in real tangible ways, and figure it out so that we can rise together, because a rising tide raises all ships, right? So yeah, in saying that, that's my answer to the question. Actually, let me go a little bit further. My determination to pursue music has always been the fact that I just want to inspire other people to think outside the box and to see themselves in what I'm doing and what I'm able to accomplish, and realize that the possibilities are truly endless. Because I have always believed that anyone can do anything that they put their mind to. And I've also always believed and been comfortable with the fact that I'm not the most talented person in the room. I'm pretty confident in what I can do when it comes to jumping on the mic and writing lyrics. But I have met so many people in my walks of life that are way more talented than me, that can dance better than anybody can ever dance, that can sing better than anyone can ever sing, and can rap better than anyone can ever rap, do all these amazing artistic things. But I think it was Jim Rohn that once said, there's nothing more common than a talented poor man, or something like that. That person that is always at the jams, always at the drink cups, and could pull out a guitar and just start playing the craziest songs and knows every song in the book, but they still work a regular 9 to 5. And that's not to knock anyone who's comfortable with that. If that's your measure of success and you're happy with just being able to have a jam here and there, and you love your job, even if it is considered a normal job, then that's fine. I don't want to knock anybody who's doing that. But If you're someone who's constantly complaining about the job that you're doing, but you have all the talent in the world, I can't understand why it is that you choose to remain in that box. Break out of the box and chase your dreams. Use the talents that God gave you to pursue something that can change your life forever. Especially in this modern era, we got so many tools at our disposal. It's crazy to me that people still feel like they can't do this sort of thing. And that's why I want to prove the concept. I'm trying to be a proof of concept that anybody can do it. Because if my half-talented ass can do it, I'm just being self-deprecating now. If I can do it, anybody can truly do it. What do I have going for me? I can write raps pretty good. I've got a decent voice. Other than that, in the looks department, I'm not exactly, killing it. But, if I can do it, that's what I'm saying. Like, I've got so many things against me. I'm a father of 4. I shouldn't be able to manage the time the way that I am. I don't actually do a great job at all. But I'm still out here trying to do it. And if I make it, anyone can make it. Anyway, I've kind of went on a little bit too long about that. But let's move on to question 5. Who were the most influential people in your early life, and what impact did they have on your path? Man, that's a crazy question. It's actually really tough to answer, but obviously my parents, man. My parents, my family, the people that, were around all the time and putting me onto new music. My music taste is because of them. The reason why I'm so in love with R&B and hip-hop is because they loved R&B and hip-hop, and it was played around me all the time. So just by osmosis and being around it, hearing it, these sound waves infecting my brain and my ears all the time, that's the reason why I have the taste that I have. And then, I think I've said this before, but my older sister Aaliyah was the one that put me on to J. Cole. And for those of you who know me, you guys all know how much credit I give to J. Cole. J. Cole's my GOAT. J. Cole's my number one. And I can say that, subjectively. I know that, Kendrick is considered the top of hip hop at the moment, and Drake's up there in the conversation too. I don't want to talk about all of that, but for me, on a personal level, J. Cole's my GOAT. J. Cole's the one that I always turn to and I'm inspired by, and I can relate to him the most. And my sister's the one that put me onto him. And I remember she played Crooked Smile. Crooked Smile was the first song that I heard in secondary school. I think we were driving and she put it on, and I really appreciated the message in it. And I was like, that's the kind of music that I want to make. And it's always been that with Aaliyah. Like, it's always been, she's the tastemaker when it comes to her siblings, and she would show us different music and things like that. And then even, like, as my little siblings got older, like, I remember a couple months ago, my little sister Tyler put me on to October London, and that's been an artist that I've been following for a minute now. My cousin Riley put me on to Daft Punk and Kid Cudi and all these different things. Actually, I think it was Uncle Rob that might have put me on to Daft Punk. I don't know. One of those two. Uncle Aaron put me on to Jason Mraz and different reggae and all these. There's just so many people. Everyone in my life is musical and enjoys music the way that I enjoy music. So with that being said, it's too hard to narrow down the most influential people. I feel like I attract people that are musical and that can put me onto different music. So yeah, that's a hard question to answer. Anyway, number 6, when did you realize the music was more than a hobby for you and something you wanted to pursue seriously? I realized this in 2015, in my last year of school. I had realized that there was a bunch of different rappers and a bunch of different people trying to make music and do something with music in my school. And that included people like Yin Yan, Manny Mula, all kinds of people, Nate Vibrations. And one of them who I was closest to was actually, he went by Young Breezy. He's currently going by Breezy 96 Baby. I remember jokingly in math, I was like, when are you going to let me get a feature on one of your songs? And he said, man, I don't know. Like, he knew I was joking, and he was like, man, you got to send me something first so I can listen to it. And I was like, okay, bet. How should I do that? And he said, man, just, record yourself on your phone rapping over a YouTube beat. And I thought he meant like an instrumental that I could find on YouTube. So I searched up Drake's Pound Cake instrumental. I wrote something to it, and I remember I was hanging out with my mate Mitch. Shout out to Mitch. It's been a minute since we caught up, bro. But I was hanging out with Mitch, and he actually filmed me rapping it, and we sent it to Breezy. And Breezy actually hit me back, and he was like, "Man, this is actually really dope. Like, you could actually do this stuff." And that was all I needed. Like, that was all I needed. Before that point, I'd never really thought about, trying to rap. At one point, I actually thought that maybe I could be one of those people that blows up from dancing on YouTube, which is crazy because I don't dance at all now. And if I do, it's just basic, like, moves that I learned off Hitch. But and at another point, I thought that I could maybe like be the next Justin Bieber and get discovered by Usher on YouTube too. But then rapping like that, from that first rap that I put together, and then I just kept doing it, I was like, you know what? This is something that I can actually scale and get better at over time, and I should try and take this seriously. So I graduated from school, and then I just kept following it. I kept recording videos of myself in my room, posting them to Facebook. Because at that point in time, I was like big on Facebook instead of like Instagram and stuff. I still didn't have an Instagram account. And yeah, it just kind of transitioned from there. But 2015 was when I realized that music was something that I really wanted to do. And 2018 was when things really started to pop off, and I can say I became like an actual performing musician and things like that. So yeah, that was cool. That's my answer to number 6. My answer to number 7, how did your early environment influence your creative expression and the stories you tell in your music? It impacted me in a big way because, like I said, in 2015 was the time when I decided I really wanted to pursue music, but I made it very clear to myself from the start that if I was going to make music, shout out to my mom, if I was going to make music, then I wasn't going to lie. I wasn't going to cap in my music. I wasn't going to make things up that I don't do. I wasn't going to talk about trapping or selling drugs or shooting guns. We don't have guns in Melbourne, all right? If I'm going to rap, I'm going to make dope raps, dope lyrics, and tell dope stories based on what is true to me. And so I'm going to talk about, what it's like to, live in Melbourne, what it's like to grow up Afakasi, what it's like to grow up plastic, and talk about my experience, what's real to me, what it's like to be underrated, what it's like to be treated like you're stupid, and all those different things. And that way I can make sure that people that are going to listen to my music, if they relate, then that means that that's someone like me, right? So that's what it was. I had to look at my environment. I had to look at what I was experiencing and where I'm living and what I'm living through, and make sure that my music reflected that. It couldn't reflect anything that was cap. It couldn't reflect anything that just was way far from the truth. And the truth of the matter was that I have a pretty good life. So in saying that, I'm gonna rap about the good. I'm gonna rap about the positives. I'm gonna rap about the negatives. I'm going to rap about everything as long as it's true. And yeah, that's that. For the most part, I feel like I've kind of stuck to that goal. I've pretty much stuck to that as a North Star for everything that I write, everything that I create. So yeah, hopefully you guys see that too. Let me know in the comments if you guys have listened to my music before, if that is something that you can agree with. If you agree with my assessment, let me know. But anyway, that's the end of this first episode. That's the 7 questions. I hope that gave you guys a little bit more of an introduction and insight to who I am. And if it didn't, I'm keen to make a follow-up video if that's needed. So let me know what you guys think. If you guys want to see some more, if you guys want to ask me some questions too, I might make a separate series to answer some of your questions. It can be questions about anything and all. Like, I promise, you guys ask me some questions in the comments. Whatever you guys want to know, I'll answer them for you. But I'm just grateful that you guys have watched this. We're 25 minutes into it now. I didn't know that 7 questions was going to take that long. But I appreciate you for sticking through anyway. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, all of that good stuff. And remember that together we move.